Welcome to Evermore Love. Hey, radiant romantics. Welcome back to Evermore Love, where we spin heartfelt yarns that not only stir your soul but also weave in those English gems to make learning feel like falling in love. If you're tuning in for the first time, pull up a chair. You're about to get lost in a world of whispers and wonders. And to our incredible community. We've hit that 1K subscriber milestone. Your cheers, shares, and unwavering support have made this possible, and we're over the moon. To keep the stories flowing and celebrate with you, if you haven't yet, tap subscribe, hit the bell, and promise to watch this full video. Every second counts toward more magic like what you're about to hear. Your full watches are the love letters that keep us going. Alright, hearts open. Let's dive in. My boss kept the photo. The fluorescent hum of the open-plan office in downtown Chicago was a constant, like the distant rumble of the L train threading through the loop. Nora Hayes had grown accustomed to it over 3 years at Sterling & Klein Advertising, the clack of keyboards like Morse code for ambition, the whir of printers spitting out pitch decks, and the faint, comforting aroma of overbrewed coffee from the breakroom Keurig. At 29, Nora was the epitome of poised professionalism. Tailored blazers over silk blouses, her chestnut hair twisted into a no-nonsense chignon, and a smile that could disarm a client mid-negotiation. But beneath the veneer, she carried a quiet ache, a remnant of a love that had flickered out like a candle in a gale. Started with the photo. Not just any snapshot, but the one she'd tucked into the corner of her desk calendar 2 years back, a candid from a rainy weekend in Door County, Wisconsin. She and Ryan, her college sweetheart, laughing on a pier as waves lapped at weathered wood. His arms slung around her shoulders, her head thrown back in unfiltered joy. They'd been 22 then, drunk on possibility, whispering dreams of grad school and a brownstone in Lincoln Park. But life, that sly editor, had redlined their story. His job transfer to Seattle, her promotion anchoring her here, and the slow erosion of late-night calls into polite texts. The breakup was mutual, a gentle severance, but the photo stayed. A talisman, perhaps, or a stubborn refusal to erase the good. Enter Julian Sterling, the firm's enigmatic co-founder. At 42, he was the silver fox of the ad world. Tall and lean, with salt and pepper hair that curled just so at the temples, and piercing hazel eyes that seemed to catalog every room like a storyboard. He wasn't the shouty tyrant of boardroom lore. No, Julian led with a velvet authority. His voice a low timbre that could coax brilliance from the weariest creative. Nora had idolized him from afar during her intern days, blushing when he'd praise her taglines in meetings. That's the spark we need, Hayes. Lately, though, their interactions had deepened. Late-night strategy sessions over takeout Thai. His insights peeling back her professional armor to reveal the artist beneath, the one who doodled poetry on napkins. It was during one such evening 3 months ago that the photo became a bridge, or a chasm. The office was a ghost town after hours, city lights twinkling beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows like distant applause. Piles of mock-ups for the Vanguard Energy campaign carpeted the conference table, illuminated by the glow of Julian's laptop. Nora rubbed her temples, fighting a headache born of pixel strain. "I think we're chasing shadows here," she sighed, leaning back in her chair. "The eco-angle feels forced." Julian glanced up from his notes. His tie loosened like an afterthought, sleeves rolled to expose forearms corded with quiet strength. "Trust your gut, Nora. You've got an eye for the authentic." His gaze drifted, unbidden, to her desk across the room, cluttered with highlighters and half-empty mugs, and landed on the calendar's edge. The photo caught the lamplight, Ryan's grin frozen in time. Julian's expression flickered, a shadow crossing his features, but he said nothing, merely nodding as if filing it away. The next morning, Nora arrived to find her desk subtly rearranged. The calendar flipped to the current month, the photo face down beneath a fresh stack of reports. Her stomach twisted, a small invasion or paranoia. She righted it defiantly, but the seed of unease took root. Over the following weeks, the photo seemed to pulse with unintended significance. Julian's critiques sharpened during reviews. His tone clipped when she referenced personal touch in pitches. "Keep it objective, Hayes," he'd say, eyes avoiding hers. Whispers circulated among the juniors. Julian's divorce finalized last spring, a bitter split from his high society ex who claimed he'd never truly seen her. Nora dismissed it as office gossip, but the distance grew, a chill settling between them like autumn fog off Lake Michigan. Then came the Vanguard pitch, a high-stakes showdown with the client's board. Nora led the presentation, her voice steady as she unveiled slides pulsing with verdant visuals, wind turbines slicing through golden hour skies, taglines that evoked stewardship over exploitation. The room hung on her words, but Julian's silence was deafening. As applause rippled post-pitch, he pulled her aside in the hallway, his hand light on her elbow, sending an unwelcome shiver up her spine. "Strong work," he murmured, but his eyes were stormy. "Walk with me." They ended up on the rooftop terrace, the city sprawl a glittering indictment below, neon signs hawking dreams while semis crawled like weary beetles. Wind tugged at Nora's skirt, mirroring the turmoil in her chest. Julian leaned against the railing, hands in pockets, the vulnerability etching lines around his mouth. "That photo on your desk," he started, voice roughened by the gusts. "It's been distracting." Nora's breath caught, heat flooding her cheeks. "Distracting? It's just a memory, Mr. Sterling. Doesn't affect my deliverables." "Julian," he corrected softly, turning to face her fully. "And it's not the memory. It's the reminder." He exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck, a gesture so human it cracked her defenses. "I kept one too, you know, of her. Tucked in my wallet like a guilty secret, long after she left. Told myself it was closure, but really, it was chains, holding me back from seeing what's right in front of me." The confession hung between them, raw and electric. Nora's heart hammered, piecing together the fragments. His lingering glances during brainstorming, the way he'd linger after meetings to ask about her poetry sketches, the quiet gift of a leather-bound journal on her birthday. "For the words you don't say." "I didn't mean to pry." She chalked it up to mentorship, closer. But now, the scent of his cologne, air thickened sandalwood and citrus, longing, mingling with the crisp bite of impending rain. "But seeing you with that echo, it gutted me. Because I've been fighting this pull toward you for months. Your fire in the boardroom, the way you laugh at my terrible puns over pad thai. You're not just talented, Nora. You're alive. And I was terrified of complicating things, of being the boss who crosses lines." Tears pricked her eyes, not from hurt, but the exquisite ache of recognition. "Ryan's gone," she whispered, voice trembling. "That photo, it's armor. Against risking again. After him, I built walls higher than the Willis Tower. You've been chipping away without even trying." They stood there, inches apart, the city's pulse syncing with their own, erratic, insistent. Julian reached out, tentative, his fingers brushing a loose strand from her forehead. "Then let's tear them down together. No titles, no timelines. Just us seeing each other. Truly." Their first kiss was a revelation, tentative at first, lips meeting soft as whispered vows, then deepening with the ferocity of pent-up storms. His hands framed her face, thumbs tracing her jawline as if memorizing contours, while hers fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer against the railing. Rain began to fall in earnest, cool droplets tracing paths down their cheeks, mingling with salt. It was messy, imperfect, alive. But romance in the rear view of reality isn't all stolen kisses and sunset walks along the lakefront. Challenges loomed like storm clouds over the prairie. Office policy frowned on intrafirm entanglements, HR forms loomed and prying eyes. Colleagues who'd long shipped Jorah in hushed tones now dissected every shared glance. Nora's confidence wavered during a brutal client call, her mind replaying Julian's warning. "If it implodes, it could cost you everything." Doubts crept in nocturnal hours, her fingers tracing the photo's edges as she lay awake in her Wicker Park apartment, the L's rumble a lullaby of what-ifs. Worse was the emotional minefield. Julian's scars ran deep, nights when he'd wake from dreams of his ex's parting words, "You never fought for us." His body rigid beside hers in the king-sized bed of his Gold Coast penthouse, all sleek lines and panoramic views that felt too vast for vulnerability. Nora learned to hold him then, her voice a steady anchor. I'm here. Not leaving. In turn, she confessed her fears over breakfast crepes on his balcony, the terror of loving someone whose world could eclipse her own, the photo now banished to a drawer but its ghost whispering unworthiness. What if I'm just the interlude? She'd murmur, steam rising from her mug like unspoken pleas. Heartfelt moments became their salve. One drizzly Saturday, Julian surprised her at her apartment with a Door County picnic, grocery-bagged cheeses, artisan bread, and a disposable camera to capture new memories. They drove north, windows fogged with laughter, ending on that same pier where her photo had been born. Under a sky bruised purple, he knelt, not in proposal but revelation, pulling a small, creased image from his wallet. Him and his ex, young and hopeful in Tuscany. I kept it to remember the lesson, he said, voice thick. Love isn't possession, it's choice. Every day. He tore it in half, the rip echoing like liberation, then handed her the camera. Your turn. Nora hesitated, heart a wild bird in her ribcage, then fished out her photo from her glove box, retrieved for this very reckoning. With trembling hands, she tore it too, the pieces fluttering into the lake like paper boats setting sail. To us, she breathed, and he pulled her close, their kiss tasting of brine and beginnings. Months wove forward, threads of challenge and triumph interlacing. The Vanguard campaign soared, earning Nora a corner office and Julian's quiet pride, a framed sketch of the pier on his desk, their silhouettes entwined. They navigated HR with transparency. Her promotion to creative director a testament to merit over merger. Intimate evenings anchored them, cooking risotto in his kitchen, her feet tucked under his on the couch as they binge-watched The Office. His fingers absently sketching hearts on her palm. A weekend in the Shawnee Hills, hiking mist-shrouded trails where confessions flowed freer than the creeks. His boyhood dreams of writing ad copy for moon missions, her hidden manuscript of poems inspired by his gaze. On a crisp April eve, 1 year from that rooftop kiss, Julian led her blindfolded to the office terrace. Now theirs in memory. Strings of Edison bulbs glowed like captured fireflies, a table set with Thai takeout and wildflowers. He unveiled not a ring but a custom photo album, blank pages waiting for their story. We've kept the ghosts long enough, he said, hazel eyes shimmering. Let's fill this with us. Marry me, Nora Hayes. Not as boss and colleague, but as the man who sees you, wholly, wildly. Tears cascaded as she nodded, pulling him into an embrace that blew.